Good ball played in for Tony Morley. Oh, he must be! And it is! Peter Will!
Hello everyone and welcome to a bonus and surprise edition. No one's more surprised than me. For Gather Around Again, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you in partnership with underagaslitlamp.com. And I am here to talk about Aston Villa 1, Bayern Munich 0, and I am joined by my erstwhile friend, Mr. Andy, who was there in the flesh at Villa Park. Good evening, Andy.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, just jumping onto. We had to mark it, didn't we? What an amazing evening at Aston Villa. It was incredible.
Andy, you were there in the flesh. I was not. I am on a different continent. So tell people like me who are far, far away, the feelings, the smells, the taste, the ambience. What was it like to be at Villa Park on a Champions League night facing German giants Bayern Munich and winning, for goodness sake?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that the thing was it was quite surreal because it was Villa Park, but a different Villa Park. It kind of had a special kind of unusual atmosphere about it. The whole thing is exactly the same. You put your Villa shirt on, you get on the train, you walk up from Aston Station, and it's all the same. And then a police convoy goes past with the two Bayern Munich team coaches, and you think, my goodness, this is this is happening, and it really kind of brought it home. But I mean, there was just a real kind of special kind of atmosphere, I think, in the ground last night. It was all the same, but it was just different. And I had to do a video of the teams walking out and the Champions League anthem and all that, and it was just incredible. It was spine tingling stuff. It was great. It was really, really tremendous night. Even before the game, it was just like an absolute privilege to be there.
Is there an element of surrealism, if you like, to you're at Villa Park, and obviously you've been going to Villa Park for years and years and years. I think I first went to Villa Park when I was 6 or 7, and you're used to seeing teams, English teams. You're used to seeing back in the day a Sheffield Wednesday or a Leeds United. You're used to seeing Arsenal and Man City, Man United and Everton. You've seen probably more times than you care to count. And then there's the occasional European night. We saw the likes of the Inter Milan, the Ajax fixture last year. Is it just completely unbelievable to see a team like Bayern, and I guess Juventus again in a few weeks, one of the real true giants of world football that we don't get to see very often? Is there an element of absolute surrealism just to have them here in our house almost? It's almost like you're making a cup of tea for, I don't know, Tom Cruise in your front garden. It must be very strange.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting analogy, but yeah, I suppose that's it, isn't it? It's kind of like I say, everything was about the evening was fairly normal until you see the Bayern Munich team bus, and you see the Champions League imagery around the ground and the in the centre circle and all that kind of thing. And yeah, it's like these big nights. I remember going to see to the Atletico Madrid game in, I think it was 97, something around there. And that was a similar kind of thing, huge club, huge team, massive, like it was a quarter final of the UEFA Cup. And incredible atmosphere that night, really, really great atmosphere all around the ground. But it has got that something a bit different because we play Arsenal, we play Liverpool, Man City, the biggest teams in Europe every year, don't we? But there was something really special about this, and a levels up from what we experienced last year. Last year was great. The Conference League, that was special. From where we'd come from and having been so many years out of European competition. But this is something I never thought I would experience with Villa, and it was special, surreal, and an absolute privilege. It was tremendous, and I hope it carries on for the other games. I hope we, just because we've got this result, and the way the night went, I hope it doesn't diminish. We have to cherish every single match that we play in this tournament this season, I think.
Well, I would imagine one of the kind of side effects or consequences, intended or otherwise, of these high ticket prices is there will be lots of fans who simply cannot afford to go to all 4 home group games. So you would imagine that on each occasion that we're there, be it last night, be it Bologna, Celtic and Juventus, of course, our 4 home fixtures in the Champions League, you'd imagine there's going to be at least a reasonable turnover in terms of percentage of new fans experiencing it. So although there'll probably obviously be thousands of people that there in the Bologna game that were there last night for the Bayern fixture, you'd think also there'll be fresh faces coming in every time, which is maybe an unintended positive consequence, if you dare say that, of this ticket price problem, because it means that other people will get to an opportunity to go and see the game. Now let's talk about the game. Big surprise in the lineup, Andy. A shocker. Jaden Philogene starting. What was the scuttlebutt even around Villa Park when that shocker was revealed?
Well, first of all, you look at the team. You think who's he replaced? Who's he in instead of? And obviously he effectively replaced John McGinn, didn't he? On that side, but he obviously got in ahead of Leon Bailey, and I think it's kind of turned out that Bailey was carrying a bit of an injury from the day before. He did come on, and then he was subbed off, which is never great. But I think he just wasn't on the pace, was he, at all? But I think the thing is with Emery, and we say this a lot, when you see the team sheet, you just assume it's because there's a reason. There's a reason behind. If you see something that stands out, it's a little bit strange, you just think, well, it's Emery. He's got a plan. He's got a specific reason for picking that player. And I think, I don't know what the reason necessarily was behind that. I think maybe it was just he was the next cab off the rank sort of thing. But I thought he played absolutely superbly. I thought he was excellent all night, and he switched wings, didn't he, to accommodate Leon Bailey, and then he went back to the other side. And I just thought he was excellent on and off the ball. Interceptions, tackles, winning the ball. And then when he got on the ball, he was really dangerous.
He broke records apparently for his defensive contributions as a winger. I don't have them to hand, which is not useful, but I saw something that he had broken a record, something like it's been years since a forward made that level of defensive contribution in their Champions League debut. So the game gets started, as you say. The first chance actually falls to Ollie Watkins. Your man, Luca Dean, the Renaissance man himself, crosses in for Watkins. Watkins heads it downwards. I think it bounces up off the Bayern Munich defender and out for a corner. But, of course, the referee didn't give us a corner. More on the referee shortly. That was the first kind of chance after we were a little bit tentative. And then just a few moments later, there's a through ball. Ollie Watkins is herring through on goal. And what looks like to me, Andy, and certainly around everyone in Villa Park who was not wearing a Bayern Munich scarf, looked like a clear foul by Upamecano on Ollie Watkins going through on goal. No foul, no booking, no red card. niente from the referee. Is that a moment where you thought, we're up against it here?
Yeah, I think it was fairly noticeable, and I don't want to get all conspiracy theory about refs, but it felt like he was refereeing the two teams differently. Villa had to, but Bayern Munich had to do an awful lot more to get penalised, to get booked. But this one was, it was clear as day, wasn't it? Ollie had absolutely done him, turned him with the ball over the top, which proved a successful tactic during the game. And he was away really, to all intents and purposes. I wouldn't say it was necessarily a red card. I think it was too far away from the goal to be a red card, but it should have been certainly should have been a foul and a yellow card. I mean, he rugby tackled him to the ground.
And then
so, yeah,
there was a foul and a yellow card just a few moments later. Same two players, Ollie Watkins, Upamecano. This time, Watkins, that is, was grabbed literally around the throat as he span in behind to run through on another through ball. And this time, the foul was given and the young man was booked, Upamecano. And firstly, if he's on the booking, rightfully for the first challenge, he can't make that second challenge and Watkins is in.
Mm-hmm.
But at least then he was on a booking, and that booking may have come in handy later on when John Duran came on. But clearly this guy was rattled. Bayern seemed to be... I mean, what did it look like from a bird's eye view from old K2 out there, where you're looking at the pitch and seeing Bayern are choosing here tactically to leave some very fast players in Rodgers and Watkins 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 with their defenders. I mean, it was almost seemed like a kamikaze tactic from Bayern, and a little bit of hubris perhaps from Vincent Kompany, dare I say.
I think their game plan was obviously to keep the ball as much as they could, and they were banking on the fact that Martinez wouldn't have had, maybe sort of out of 5 goes, he might have found Watkins once. That I think that's what they were banking on. That his delivery is would not be that great in that scenario, so they could leave Watkins 1-on-1. But it was, it was kamikaze stuff, particularly when you saw so early on that Watkins clearly had the measure of the centre back. So yeah, it was very strange, and to actually leave it like that as well, even when the guy was on a booking, it just seemed crazy. We were all expecting him to get substituted because he looked all at sea really, and it would have only took sort of one ball to go.
Yeah, I would be interested to really learn and understand what the thinking was there and why it happened. But it wasn't so much from it was from, I think, the resulting free kick. Eventually we end up whipping it in. It falls to Jacob Ramsey, who lays it off to Luca Dean. Luca Dean probably slightly mishits his cross. Jaden Philogene, the smallest man on the field, brings down the ball superbly. I'm not sure if it was an intended assist for Pau Torres, but we'll take it anyway. Pau, as cool as you like a seasoned striker, takes a touch and strokes it into the corner, I think in off the post, past the despairing right foot of Harry Kane, who could get nowhere near it. 1-0 Aston Villa, or so we thought, but after a couple of minutes of VAR break, it's brought back for an offside, a correct offside call on Jacob Ramsey. But despite the goal being disallowed, Andy, was this a moment of optimism, both, I guess, for the team and also for the fans in the stadium, to think, okay, actually, guys, we can score against these guys. We can do some work here. We're going to create some more opportunities here.
I'm not sure I felt optimism, to be honest. I think, it was such a shame because it was a great moment, lovely finish. And you kind of look at it and you think, are we going to get these chances again? Are we going to get another opportunity? Because Bayern Munich had so much of the ball and had looked dangerous without creating a massive amount. They had looked really dangerous. It was kind of, it took the wind out. It's an awful thing when you celebrate a goal like that, because there was no sense that it was going to be disallowed. It looked absolutely fine. There was nothing where sometimes you can, with the move for a goal or the way it's kind of finished off, you can kind of tell there's going to be a problem here. So you hold back a little bit, but there was no sense of that. It was, full on celebrations, and then, the air gets let out your tires, straight away, and it's kind of, oh right, okay, here we go, back to 0-0. And it would have been a great time to obviously take the lead and put Bayern Munich under a bit of pressure, but yeah, it's one of those things. And I had no idea it was offside. I had no idea why it had been disallowed. There was no communication to that effect from what I could tell in the ground, just that it was checked and it was disallowed. So, yeah, very frustrating.
Well,
but,
speaking of breakdowns in communication, there seems to be an ongoing breakdown in the communication between poor Jacob Ramsey's muscles and the football pitch. Just a few moments after this disallowed goal, Jacob Ramsey goes down again. He is having some really rotten luck with injuries. Hopefully this one isn't too serious. He couldn't continue. Leon Bailey comes on, who's also not fit, as we discovered. The sub was later on subbed again. And then I think it's fair to say towards the end of the first half, the momentum, or the pendulum, if you will, really swang into Bayern's favour. Olise, formerly of Crystal Palace fame, French international, bringing out the best in Martinez with a left-footed drive towards the top corner. Serge Gnabry, formerly of the West Brom parish, the Hawthorns, over there in that area of the Midlands we don't talk about. He was clean through, probably could have squared it to Harry Kane for a tap-in, didn't. And then the half-time whistle blows. Aston Villa get in and look like they are good value for their point, but also perhaps a more realistic score may have been 1-1 based on the chances that were created, with perhaps Bayern down to 10 men. What was your feeling at half-time, Andy? Where were you on the anxiety scale?
I thought, I mean, I was just really enjoying it. It's a really strange thing. I think I only became really anxious sort of later on in the game, but I was just so pleased with how we'd kind of contained Bayern Munich. And you mentioned there they did have a couple of chances, but you'd expect this Bayern Munich team to have chances against us. This is a team that's been completely ripping their league to shreds. They won 9-2 in the last Champions League game. So the fact we limited them really to a couple of chances. I know there was a chance for Kane as well that was offside. Obviously, but it doesn't really count, does it? And then the Elise, obviously, long range effort, which is a great effort and an absolutely tremendous save. But I mean, it was really pleasing just to be, still in the game, because a lot of people, we was kind of thinking, well, could we be the way we defend in the Premier League? Could we be a couple of goals down by this stage? Is it going to be a bit of a comeback job needed in the second half? But absolutely delighted. If you'd have offered me 0-0 at the start of the game, I'd have absolutely taken it. So no, we were really pleased. I was absolutely delighted with it.
Well, your pleasedness or joy may have been short-lived, as you saw the frighteningly talented Jamal Musiala taking the place of Kingsley Coman at half-time. Just a literal embarrassment of riches for Bayern Munich. And then the aforementioned Leon Bailey. The sub was subbed for Ian Maatsen. Bailey managed about 30 minutes and did not look particularly comfortable in those 30 minutes. And then there was also another substitution, one which we become familiar with in the early part of this 2024-2025 season, Andy, with Ross Barkley, the former Luton Town man, coming in for Amadou Onana. And this has been a really positive substitution for Aston Villa. Onana's done great, obviously, bagged us a couple of goals, and he's been a really great physical presence in the midfield. But Barkley just adds kind of a different flavour altogether, adds more control, is more technical, more calm on the ball, has a better range of passing, and just creates different problems for the opposition. Were you surprised to see Bailey off? And second of all, were you pleased to see Ross Barkley coming on to try and, I guess, seize more control from Bayern Munich?
Yeah, we definitely needed Ross Barkley at that point for sure. And I was a little bit concerned about Bailey because it wasn't necessarily obvious that he had an injury. He didn't play well when he came on. He looked off the pace. But you're always a bit concerned by that kind of situation because you think, how's he going to react to that? But if he was carrying an injury, I mean, he did his job while he had to, and then they were able to kind of make that change. And I thought Maatsen made a great impact as well. He gave him something to think about, sort of down that left-hand side. But Barkley, I mean, he gave the ball away a couple of times, but I think all the players were kind of doing that because of the pressure that Bayern Munich were putting us under at times on the ball. So, but he's such a dynamic midfielder, isn't he? He can do the lot really, and the fact that he's gone from being an attacking midfielder, number 10, number 8 type player, to now being a deeper line player, it means he's just got all the attributes. He can just, he can run at goal and have a shot. He can, go out wide and get involved there. But he can do that defensive work as well, which we need. He's such a great option to have, and I think he'll start on Sunday for sure. But really good, and made a difference in that midfield. I think gave us a bit of energy and a bit of calmness in there as well.
Well, at first he did, and then Maatsen, the two subs were involved in the move. I think Barkley did a lovely 1-2, releases Maatsen for probably our best chance of the second half up until that point. Maatsen channeled his inner Serge Gnabry from the first half, and rather than trying to pass to a well-placed teammate, blasted one over the bar in a rather wild swing. And that then eventually would lead to a couple more subs. Bayern really taking the piss with their bench, bring on Leroy Sané for Michael Olise. I mean, the hits just kept on coming. Just a complete embarrassment of riches that they have in their forward positions. But we are not so shabby ourselves in those forward positions, Andy, because we brought on the monster from Medellin, John Jada Duran, for Ollie Watkins. And this is where this came into focus, because Upamecano was on that yellow card and he is now tired. Ollie Watkins deserves full credit for running him left, right, up and down for 70 long minutes. And now you're Upamecano, you're probably blowing through your backside after dealing with Ollie Watkins, the super athlete, for 70 minutes. And then you glance over your shoulder as you try and take a sip of Lucozade. And there, hopping on the touchline, is this 6 foot plus giant of a man, John Duran, who's faster than you, stronger than you, taller than you, and also has an eye for a goal, a bit like no one else that I think we've seen. Certainly at 20 years of age at Villa Park, we have not seen the likes of this man before. There's always a big cheer now when John Duran is onto the field. And Andy, could you preempt what was coming next, or did you? What did you think?
Well, I'm not going to take the credit. Our good friend James, who was sat next to me last night, we went down to the concourse at half time. We said, about Duran coming on. And he said, it's absolutely nailed on that he's going to come on and score the winner and we're going to win 1-0. And I've got to give him credit for that because he got it bang on. So well done, Jack, for that. But yeah, you're never sure, are you? I mean, you sort of think, how often can he carry on writing these incredible scripts? He's it's getting a bit silly now, isn't it? It's almost, could we say it's getting boring? No, it's not. Definitely not boring. But I think, yeah, he's just got that about him, hasn't he? And I think they're utilising his attributes in absolutely the right way. Because, like you say, Ollie Watkins is an absolute Trojan for 60, 70 minutes. And, obviously a goal threat in his own right, huge goal threat. And then Duran comes on and it's just absolute chaos, and no one seems to know how to handle him. He's so good. He's such a unique footballer. I think we were talking about this on the podcast earlier in the week. I just don't think defenders are alive to him at the moment, and that might change as coaches and players get to know him. But there's such a buzz whenever he comes on as well, and for a player that in the summer wanted to leave and outwardly kind of courted different clubs on social media, it's unprecedented. I've never known that to happen, and for that player to become so popular. But it's absolutely deserved because he's producing the goods every week.
It is deserved, and what was even more deserved was Unai Emery deserving some plaudits here, because it seems like yet again, from what we understand, is Unai Emery had Manuel Neuers, one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, the man who, dare I say, revolutionised modern goalkeeping. He is the reason why we have sweeper keepers, for my money. He's maybe the best to ever do it. Probably, on the downswing of his career a little bit these days, but a guy that will go down in history as one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, in my view. But one thing he does do as that sweeper keeper is he holds a ridiculously high line. And the rumour mill suggests that this was mentioned at detail during one of Emery's 2 team meetings prior to the game. And Emery told both Duran and Watkins and the other forwards that if you get an opportunity in that channel, you need to shoot, because Neuer will be off his line. And the ball was with the getting through Bayern was quite simple. It was Emi Martinez to Pau Torres. Pau Torres plays the ball, which really, in terms of left-sided centre-backs, only really Pau Torres can play. A through ball, basically from the edge of his own area, with whip and spin and enough pace on it. A ball so good that not only does John Duran not have to have a touch, it's also on his stronger foot, and he can hold off Upamecano, who cannot dare make any kind of challenge because, as we said, he's on that yellow card. And it all happens so quickly. John Duran takes that shot so early. I don't know if Upamecano could be set to give a challenge anyway. John Duran, Unai Emery pointed out, has scored this type of goal before, last year against Hibs in the Conference League playoffs. But with all due respect to Hibs and their mighty green army there, doing it against Hibs in the Conference League playoff and doing it in the Champions League against Manuel Neuer and Bayern Munich are 2 entirely different things. Describe your emotion as you saw the ball roll into Duran. He strikes it first time, and you see it, I guess time stands still as you can see it just dip over Neuer and nestle into the net, Andy. Talk us through that 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was out of nowhere, wasn't it? 1 minute the centre-back's got the ball, and the next second almost, the ball's in the net. And it was, like you say, really great pass from Torres. We've seen him play that pass, an awful lot, including for that goal that you mentioned from the Hibs game last year. But it's almost like when you see it go towards Duran, and I'm behind. I was in the whole 10, so I was at the other end, but I could kind of see it open up almost. So it's almost like he's going to score here. And when it goes in the net, I mean, the thing about it is, I mean, he's a reasonable. What was he, about 25 yards out,
Yeah,
maybe
easy,
a bit more.
easy, yeah.
And he's got an awful lot to do. But like you say, because Neuer is so far off his line, he's only really got to hit the target. He's not going to lob him or do anything particularly spectacular in terms of the shot. He's just got to kind of hook it on target, hasn't he? And it's in. So, but he did it superbly, and so his technique is just tremendous with that left foot. But it's having the wherewithal to do it as well. It's having the confidence to try that and do that that kind of thing. It's I'm not sure anyone else in the team does that. Given that opportunity, that same opportunity. I don't know what you think. Have we got anyone else that takes that shot on from there?
Merson would have.
Yeah.
No, genuinely, I'm passing through I'm going back. Merson would have taken that first time.
Yeah.
Ashley Young on his right foot would have taken that first time. The first version of Ashley Young, the youngster, would have taken that first time. Maybe Carew, but Carew didn't have the legs necessary to make that kind of run. York would have taken it on his right foot. Collymore would have taken it. Atkinson, Saunders would have taken it. But in terms of, I'm going back 30 years here. Yeah.
Craig, the Dean Saunders goal back in 92, 93, when he hooked it over from the touchline against Ipswich, I think. A tremendous goal. I was there that day. But yeah, it was.
No one lately, in answer to your question, no one lately takes that like that.
Yeah. So it's fallen to the right player in the team, hasn't it? Really, and
but also,
I think
respectfully to those other players, this is not, Dean Saunders, and I love Dean Saunders. He was doing that against Norwich and Palace in the Premier League before it was really before it was a top league in the world. The Premier League was not the top league in the world in that era. It just wasn't in terms of quality. So how many of those people take it against Bayern in the Champions League? I mean, it is really it's not an apples to apples comparison. And he took it, he scored it. We're 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go, and then it was it was tin hats at dawn, Andy. I think Bayern Munich threw the kitchen sink at us. They threw everything they could at us. Martinez made a couple of blinding saves, one point blank and one from Harry Kane. But the resilience that Villa showed was just in sharp contrast. And I've seen people talk about it in terms of why we look so much better. And people talking about Diego Carlos. Diego Carlos, with all that green grass to defend, obviously was embarrassed. And we talked about that on some length by Roy Delap. But Diego Carlos last night, without all that green grass to defend, similar to his Man City and his Arsenal performances last season, absolutely superb. Pau Torres, superb. I mean, you asked me the other day on the most recent podcast, you were like, is Diego Carlos good enough? I was like, yes, he is, but it has to be the right circumstance. So I think the moral of the story is, Andy, Diego doesn't play against anyone but the top six and in the Champions League anymore. And that way we can keep him fit and keep him happy, and he doesn't have to embarrass ourselves. But I mean, it's really Jekyll and Hyde stuff from Diego Carlos. Do you think he just can't get up for these like lower league things, or is it the spacing? Is it more technical than that?
I think it's a different level of intensity, isn't it? And when he's playing against Man City and Arsenal like last night, he hasn't got lots of time. He's just got to be tuned in the whole time and switched on. and he is, and he was excellent. He was excellent. He didn't try and do anything fancy with the ball. I think sometimes when he's got more time, and when Villa are sort of pushing high up the field, and the defenders are bringing it up to the halfway line and trying to start a move from there, he's got too much space in his head to think about what to do, and he starts, trying sort of longer passes, which he does have in his locker, but it's not really what you need at that time. When he's defending and he's switched on, he's excellent, and he's a real kind of tough, hard defender, and I think we saw the absolute best of him last night. He was really, really good, and he enjoyed it as well, and he came up to the Holt end afterwards. He absolutely, you could see that almost an outpouring of, I don't know, sort of that emotion of having. He knew what a good game he'd had, and he obviously knew how bad his performances more recently have been. So it was great, and he got a great reception as well. The Villa crowd really appreciated his performance. I mean, Pau Torres was my man of the match personally, but Carlos and Konza and Dean, they just worked their socks off for 90 odd minutes, and they were tremendous, really, really tremendous.
So that was really the tale of it. We get through. It's finished. The full-time whistle blows. Villa Park erupts. History is made. 42 years since we played Bayern Munich and we beat them by the same scoreline, 1-0. It's poetic. It's beautiful. It's magical. And Aston Villa now, Andy, are poised to qualify for the latter stages. Dare we dream about the latter stages, or should we just enjoy this moment now?
Well, my intention is to take each game. I don't want to sound like a football manager now, but just enjoy each game and make the most of the Champions League nights that I get to go to. Because you don't know what happens this season. You don't know if this ever comes around again. I don't want to be all kind of sort of down about it, but you just don't. So you have to just absolutely enjoy these things. And last night was probably the best thing I've ever seen at Villa Park. To me, that was the pinnacle of my Aston Villa supporting life. I mean, I can't put it any other way. Really, I've been to finals. I've seen us win the Coca-Cola Cup. I've seen us go up in the playoffs, which was like really great. I really enjoyed that. But seeing that's the highest level of football we've played since 1982 or 1983, and we beat Bayern Munich, who haven't lost a group game since 2017 when when Unai Emery was the PSG manager, and they beat them. So I mean, that it's just awesome, isn't it? It's just tremendous.
Andy, I couldn't. Yeah, I don't. I don't have anything to add. I think you've summed that up perfectly. The only thing I would add is that just a word of thanks, actually, to the players, to Unai Emery, to the owners, and also to the fans for creating that atmosphere, and to everyone that's making this possible. Dreams are coming true. Obviously, football is a major passion for all of us, probably everyone watching. And so when you get to live it and experience it like this, it just feels so good. And for me, it makes everything better. When Villa are winning and doing well, it makes my whole life better.
I was going to ask you, Craig, because obviously you're over there in Philadelphia. How has it been for you over the last sort of 24 hours, sort of walking around your home city, and have you been had a bit of an extra spring in your step today, and what was it like, sort of watching the match, you
I,
know, from over there?
well, it's so weird because obviously everything looks so familiar. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I started going to Villa Park when I was 6 years old, so I know, like, when I see Villa Park on TV, I can smell it. Although when I went when I was 6, people used to smoke like in the stand, so that's a slightly different smell now because the smoking is banned. But that was back in the old day, because who cares about my lungs? Nobody back then. Anyway, so but I digress. But yeah, I can smell it. I know what the burger vans smell like. I know what it smells like when you walk down the donut truck. I know what it smells like when the grass is damp as you go up to Aston Manor. You're trying to get around the crowd. We used to always run up the grass. They'll probably struggle to do that now, but back, we used to just run around to get into our seats if we were running late or whatever, or to get out the ground early. So just those smells, those experiences, and queuing for your burger or your chips and curry sauce, whatever you're getting, or your beer. Like I guess I still experience it in a different way, but just having had the opportunity to go for years and years and years, hundreds of times to Villa Park. So I guess it's maybe slightly different for me than for some other long distance fans, but it's just great, and you feel obviously you want to be there, but it's not really logistically reasonable to fly across the Atlantic for a 90-minute game of football and then come back. So you want to be there, but it means just as much, and it means it, and it's also a way for people who have left Birmingham, don't live there anymore. It's a way that we can still feel connected, I guess, to our city and our Villa family through football. So it's actually, it's bigger than just a game, and it's really important. I was listening to, I had a British radio on earlier while I was doing some work, and my wife says, "Why have you got this on?" I was like, "Because it just makes me feel at home." Sometimes I just need to hear English, like I wasn't listening to it, I just have it on the background. Sometimes I just need to hear English people talking for me to feel, okay. And Villa does that. Like it's a really magical thing. Speaking of magical things, let's take 2 minutes to talk about Saturday, Sunday at 2 p.m. I want to say Man United are in a shambles and they come to town. Andy, we might have a pile of injuries. McGinn unavailable, Kamara unavailable. Mings obviously unavailable, Ramsey and Bailey perhaps unavailable, so goodness knows who's going to be playing. But this Man United team are an absolute free fall. Andy, what are your thoughts and any predictions for the Man United fixture coming up on Sunday?
Yeah, it's going to be a. I mean, it's always a tough game, isn't it? We so rarely beat Man United. I think it was Unai Emery's first game. We did beat them, and that was the first time at home since, what was it, 95 that we'd beaten them. So I think we were absolutely robbed by them in the 2 games last season, both home and away. Let ourselves down a little bit, probably away from home, but this is the way it goes against Man United. I think Fernandes has had his red card rescinded, which I'm not sure he should have really. I mean, I thought it was a red card myself, but so he'll be playing. So that's obviously a benefit for United. But I don't know. Obviously, I guess Philogene will continue. He absolutely deserves to. Or maybe we might see Duran and Watkins start the game. Who knows? That would certainly give the United defenders something to think about, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to get after them. There's bound to be a little bit of a hangover. I think there would have been some aching limbs, I think, after the game last night, this morning. So it's just about, hopefully they recover well, and I'm sure Emery will have some sort of a plan, but you just hope the wretched United form continues, and we can take 3 points, and maybe maybe we'll put Ten Hag out of a job. But certainly, it's it's another huge game, isn't it? Very, very important. And important we sort of bounced back a little bit after the Ipswich draw, which was a bit disappointing.
Hello, there we go. Lost my mic for a second there. The cat knocked it off, so it unplugged. Can you hear me, Andy? No? All right. Well, we are back, and I think I've lost Andy, but I can hear you. I lost my microphone there, but we'll say goodbye. My cat says thank you. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. This was Gather Round again. I personally predict, by the way, Aston Villa 3, Man United 1 at the weekend. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. All right, bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Gather Round again, an Aston Villa podcast. Please like down below and subscribe. Up the Villa.
Daly and Atkinson on one of those great runs. What a run by Daly and Atkinson. Atkinson again.
And it's Dwight York.